Hello, Gaming Palooza and Atari VCS fans. It's time to explore some actual facts on the Atari VCS. It's about time that there's a YouTuber on YouTube who actually presents actual facts on this console. So let's start off with the claim that the Atari VCS supposedly is a scam, and our RTG85 claims that it's a scam. All his viewers claim it's a scam, so let's explore the actual facts. First of all, the factual fact that it's a scam, it's a lie. That's the first fact that we're gonna get off right off the bat here. The fact is, it's a prototype. Atari has listed this fact on their Indiegogo page. Atari has reached out to Atari fans on the Indiegogo for leverage, so they can get their project on their feet. The only thing that Atari is trying to do at this moment is trying to get the VCS into production complete. Trying to get the project on its feet. It's not a scam. If anyone claims that it is a scam, you know, that is definitely a lie, and that's a fact. Now, there's also a lot of RTG85 viewers who are stating the fact that Atari is not the same Atari as it once was a long time ago. Well, you know, I hate to break it to you, but just about any industry or company that exists, it's not the same as it was 40 years ago. I mean, things change. Now, let's explore the actual facts on this. There is currently an Atari VCS team that consists of is a new team. Developers, programmers, who are motivated and knowledgeable individuals who want to actually take the time and make an actual new console. They want to renew and rejuvenate the Atari brand. And we finally have a team that wants to take a risk of re-entering the console market, and they are literally reaching out to the Atari fanbase, and there is an Atari fanbase. And the problem is, a lot of people ignore that fact. This is who they are targeting. And they are finally giving Atari fans what they have been waiting for so long, because these Atari fans have been ignored for a very, very long time. The Xbox One and PS4, they really don't appeal to Atari fans all that much. I mean, sure, you may get some joy from it every once in a while, but this is what the Atari fans have been waiting for. Now, with that being said, yes, it is a fact that Atari is not the same Atari as it once was, but it's also a fact that nothing is the same as it once was 40 years ago. Let's get that fact straight. And the fact is, the Atari that we have now is better than the Atari that we had previously within the last, let's say, 15-20 years. They're trying to get back on their feet, and they're trying to make a console. And I like the Atari that we have now. On their Indiegogo site, they actually list the individuals who are very, very much open about making this project possible. That's something to be proud of. Now let's move on to specs. The Atari VCS has an A10, let's see here, 9630p APU, which is an AMD processor. This processor, this is a fact, it was released in 2016, so yeah, sure. It may be a slightly older processor. It was definitely used in mid-range gaming laptops throughout its time in existence. This particular APU has 614 G-flops. Now, what makes this very, very important is, in comparison to other consoles, this kind of proves that the Atari VCS is not really a console that you want to take lightly. You want to, you know, well, it's just a box. Let's do a little comparison here. So 614 G-flops is what's inside the Atari VCS. Now, technically, this is 3 times more powerful than what was inside the PS3 and 360, which respectively they both had around 240 G-flops. This is around twice as powerful as what was in the Wii U, which was around 352 G-flops. Those are facts. Now here's another interesting fact. The Atari VCS, now this may burn some people, so I'm sorry that I'm going to burn you, but the Atari VCS features the same GPU clock speed as the PlayStation 4, clocking in at 800 megahertz. So yeah, that may hurt a few people a little bit to hear that fact, but yeah, the Atari VCS has plenty of horsepower in a little teeny box. Now sure, it's not as powerful as PlayStation 4 Pro or Xbox One X, but this console targets people that don't care about the games that are on those two consoles. They care about classic games, would love to see remakes of classic games on this console in HD. That'd be awesome. Now here is another very, very important fact, is that this A10 AMD APU that's inside the Atari VCS is, without a shadow of doubt, capable of running games such as Battlefield 4, Battlefield 1, Grand Theft Auto 5, Dead or Alive 5, Counter-Strike Go, PES, 2018, Redout, PUBG. Let's see what else we got here. And the reason why I have a list of this is because I actually went out and I found videos of people running games on this APU on a PC with no graphic processor, and these games actually ran fairly good with no issues. And just keep in mind that Windows operating system is quite a bit more heavier than Linux, but we'll get to that next. So Mortal Kombat XL, Dota 2, Tomb Raider, Resident Evil 7, Skyrim HD, World of Tanks, The Witcher 3, Project Cars, Battlefront, Prey, Fallout 4, Overwatch, the Call of Duty series. So yeah, this APU is more than capable of running quite a few decent games that you would usually play on the Xbox or PlayStation, which I don't think Atari fans care about half of these games, but yeah, this Atari VCS is capable of playing those games. Yeah, it may not be as high-end as the Xbox One or the PS4 Pro, but it will definitely play those games. Now, it's also a fact that the Atari VCS has 4 GB of DDR4 RAM. Now, technically, the Linux operating system runs much later than the Windows operating system. So, with that being said, you have to keep in mind that console games are quite often more optimized than the PC game. Now, I do recall they're going to pretty much refer to this as like a PC experience in a console, but yeah, it's still going to be a lot more optimized than what you would get on PC. So 4 gigs will go quite a long ways in comparison to what you get in 4 gigs in a regular PC. So 4 gigs of DDR4 in the Atari VCS is almost probably like 6 or 8 gigs in your Windows computer that's sitting right in front of you right now. It's also a fact that the console will have a standard smart app feature, which will allow you to probably watch stuff like Netflix, Hulu, various different apps, which that comes standard on your PlayStation and Xbox as well. So there that's no surprise there. The console will also have classic Atari games, which we're going to get to the games right here, and that also includes Atari Arcade Perfect improved version of classic Atari games, of course. So they definitely hinted at this, and it appears that this is definitely happening. So HD arcade ported, perfect arcade ported Atari games on the Atari VCS, and the Atari joystick for the Atari VCS is much more improved over the original, which is nice. And the standard Atari controller resembles almost like an Xbox controller, and obviously these are designed for probably newer titles, or something a little bit more sophisticated than what you can play on a standard Atari joystick. So safe to assume that we're going to be getting some quite the interesting games on the Atari VCS. Now there's also a bit of a rumor going around that Tempest was definitely not being played on the Atari VCS on that video that was displayed on the Indiegogo site. That's definitely something that was rumored by, let's see here, RGT85, who not so popular with the Atari fans at the moment. Well, let's get the facts straight. Atari owns Tempest. Atari can port Tempest to the Atari VCS without the developer's consent. Tempest belongs to Atari. So with that said, regardless of what the developer said, Atari could have very well have been running Tempest on the Atari VCS with no issues whatsoever, because they probably could have had in-house development for porting that game over to the VCS. And it definitely appeared that they were playing it on the VCS. It looked like it. I mean, that's a fact. The movement on the controller and what was on the TV and the Atari box was right there. It looked like it was all synchronized together. Now also keep in mind that not only does Atari own Tempest, but they also own like a bunch of different games that have not been around for a long time. Just a hint, a couple of games here, I got a couple of them listed. They own like Pong, Breakout, Asteroids, Missile Command, Battle Zone, Centipede, Yara's Revenge, Pole Position. There's a lot of different games that Atari owns. There's quite a few different developers who are supporting the VCS, 14 to be exact, that were listed on the Indiegogo site. Now, let's point out a couple of those here. One of the developers, they're mostly all indie developers, but let's check this out. We have Eden Games, that's the first one that was listed, and Eden Games has a history of definitely working on racing games such as Need for Speed, V-Rally, and Test Drive. Now, Atari could easily hand over Pole Position to Eden Games and have them develop a new Pole Position game. Something like awesome, simple to play, 3D, awesome graphics, but simple like the original. Make it a nice arcade-style racing game. That would be awesome. And Atari is also working with a developer known as Working Man, who has a history of working on Disney games and platformers. You never know, Atari could hand over Centipede, Missile Command, anything over to this developer, and they could explore doing something new that they have never done before. Atari is also working with a indie developer called Monster Games. Now this is they have a huge history of working on a lot of racing games as well. Like NASCAR Heat Series, Excite Truck on the Wii, Excite Bots on the Wii, Viper Racing on the PC, which is definitely one of my favorite racing games. I also loved Excite Truck on the Wii. That was definitely one of my favorites as well. Diddy Kong Country Tropical Freeze on the Wii U, so I guess they've worked on platformers as well. They've also worked on Xenoblade Chronicles 3D on the 3DS, so that's a pretty biggie right there. I mean, who knows what Atari could give them. They can give them Yara's Revenge or anything, and who knows what they can turn it into. That'd be awesome. And also there's a developer by the name of Kung Fu Factory, who has a obvious history of making fighting games, as you can see by the Kung Fu Factory name. And they've worked on games such as UFC Undisputed 2009, Bellator MMA, which, yeah, that wasn't the greatest MMA game in the world, but UFC Undisputed 2009 was pretty good. Mortal Kombat Armageddon was a pretty decent fighting game right there. They were actually worked on that. Spartacus Legends, that was not bad of a game. That was okay. So imagine if Atari revived Pit Fighter and handed it over to Kung Fu Factory. I would crap my pants. That would be awesome. I would buy an Atari VCS right now. So yeah, Atari also has a pretty damn good relationship with Activision. So that means a lot of things to me, because Activision made quite a few very, very good Atari 2600 games. And with that being said, maybe Activision might actually remake some Atari games on the VCS. That would be awesome. It would be great to see River Raid remastered on the Atari VCS. And those are some actual facts. Real facts on the Atari VCS. I hope that you enjoyed this video, and please do subscribe. So we are running a project called Memory Lane with classic gaming consoles, and we release a video every Friday. So stay tuned for more episodes of Memory Lane, and stay tuned for the Atari VCS, because someday I will be playing it once I get my hands on one.